Hey, Mike with Nerd Problems Gaming here, the channel where we go through the good and bad of everything nerdy to make sure you spend your time on the best of the best. In today's video, we'll be doing a review and how to play video on the deck building game Star Realms, so let's get into it. Well, first off, let's dive into how you actually play the game so you have a better idea on how it works, and then I'll jump into my review after that. Alright, so now that we've got the game out, let's walk you through how the game works, the setup, and then some of the basics on how to play. And so Star Realms is a sci-fi deck building game where players take on the role of various space armadas, battling it out to be the last armada standing. And so to start the game, players will take their life tracker cards and set it to 50 life points. And so again, give one of these trackers to each player. Next, players will put together their starting deck, which consists of 2 Viper cards and 8 Scout cards. And so each player will start with that as their foundation deck. Next, you want to set aside all of the Explorer cards in the middle. So at this point, what you'll do is you'll take all the remaining cards, shuffle them up, and form the trade deck, and then you'll flip up 5 cards to form the trade row. Then on your turn, you'll be able to use trade or the gold numbers to purchase cards from the trade row. Now, as you play Star Realms, there's basically 3 types of resources that you're able to gather. So you have combat points, which are red here, the target symbol, which equate to damage you can do to other players and ships. You have trade, which acts as gold, which you can then use to trade for more powerful cards and add them to your deck. And then there's authority, which acts like health to restore your player. Now, the object of the game is to be the last player standing, and to do that you need to reduce the other players to 0 health or 0 authority, and you do that by dealing combat damage to them. There's also a couple different types of cards. There's ship cards, and then there's base cards. There's also 2 types of base cards. There's a regular base card, and then there's an outpost base card, and they function a little bit different. So when you play a base card, you'll activate its top ability here that's shown, in this case doing 3 damage. The card also has a defense, in this case of 5, and so how that works is opposing players will need to do 5 damage to this base in order to destroy it, and at that point you'll simply put it in your discard pile, in which you can draw it again. Another thing you'll notice is a second ability on some cards, and then a symbol associated with that specific faction next to it. And so how you activate these abilities is by having played a card of that same type during that same turn, and then you're able to activate the second layer of abilities matching that symbol. So again, if I played a second hive card, I could activate abilities with the hive symbol next to it. Another thing to note that with bases and outposts is that once they've been played on your turn, they stay out until they are destroyed. So you'll be able to activate them every single turn until an opposing player destroys them and you're forced to discard them. Some cards also have scrap abilities, meaning that if you scrap the card and remove them from the game completely, you're able to use the ability that has that trash can symbol. But again, they're not just discarded, they're removed from the game, so be careful when you use those abilities. Another unique factor with the outpost cards is that players cannot do damage to other bases or other players directly if they have an outpost card out. These outposts must be destroyed first before damaging a player directly or other bases. Another thing to note is that on your turn, your combat damage can be added up, your trade can be added up and used in any way you choose, and at any time. So if you want to trade for cards, buy a card, add it to your discard pile, do some damage to players or bases or outposts, you can do that and really mix and match. And so combat damage is all added together, and so any excess you can use towards damaging a player, an outpost, or a base in any order you choose. However, when damaging a base or an outpost, you must completely destroy it, as damage does not carry over to subsequent turns and the base and outpost is healed fully. Alright, so now that you have a better idea on how the cards work in the game, let's walk you through how to actually play. And so it's pretty simple. You'll start off, you'll have your 10 deck of cards, you'll shuffle those, and then the first player is going to draw 3 cards, and the second player is going to draw 5 cards. Now the first player will look at their hand and they'll see that they have 3 trade in this case, and so that will add to my trade total. So I've got 3 trade that I can use, so I can buy various different cards from the trade row using that gold. So I look at this example, this survey ship is worth 3 trade indicated by the top right corner, so I could buy this, and what I'll do is I'll add this now to my discard pile. At this point, I've done all the actions I can do on my turn. I'll refill the trade row here after purchasing a card, and then it'll move on to the next player's turn, and then I will redraw 5 cards at the end of my turn. At this point, it will move to the next player's turn. So again, they've got 5 trade in this case, so I could buy cards worth 5 or less. So let's say I buy this 4 card. I'll flip up the next card, and then there's a 1, so I'll buy this, add that to my discard pile, flip up the next card, and my turn ends. I'll take my cards, add them to my discard pile, draw 5 new cards, and then it'll be the next player's turn. So again, we'll look at the cards that they have. So 5 more scouts, so I could buy $5 worth of things, put that in my discard pile. Let's say I buy this 4, flip up the next card, and then I'll buy this 1, and then we'll flip up the next card, and that would be the turn. Again, move on to the next player. Looks like I've got 3 trade and then 2 combat, so I'll use my 2 combat to damage the second player directly. So instead of 50 life, I'll bring that down to 48. And so again, turns will go back and forth like this until there's 1 player standing, and you'll continue to build out your decks, making them more powerful, acquiring new ships and bases to defend yourself and more. But other than that, that's pretty much how you play Star Realms. So now that you have a better idea on how the game works, let's jump into my review. Well guys, now that you have a better idea on how Star Realm plays, how do I actually feel about it? Well, for me, deck building games are one of my favorite genres of board games. And Star Realms does a great job of reaching that top tier standards and has quickly become one of my favorite deck building games out there. Now the game itself is very easy to learn. Again, players start with the same base deck of cards. They'll acquire trade or gold that they can use to upgrade their decks and then build out their Space Armada to be the last faction standing. And so most games maybe take around 15 to 20 minutes. When you're playing a 2-player game, you can add additional players if you happen to get more starter decks or more base sets of cards. And the game also has a bunch of different expansions that have come out over the years. Now the game itself also is a standalone game. While there are a lot of different trading card games or collectible card games out there where you build a deck, this game is a self-contained game, again, where you start with those base set of cards and then you'll build an improved deck as you play. So the value of the game is very high. It has an extremely high replay value, and likely you're going to be able to find this base set of cards for under $20. And so you'll get a ton of different play sessions, and like I said, I feel like the replay value is very high because your strategy will change every single game that you play of Star Realms. You might try and go for an all-out assault. You might try and build up your defenses. Maybe you're trying to heal yourself a bunch, making it very hard to kill your player. And the list goes on and on of the various different strategies you can use. Now the creators of Star Realms have a very similar game, Hero Realms, which is set in a fantasy universe versus a sci-fi universe. And for some reason, I seem to be able to win Star Realms a lot more. I have no idea why. Maybe it's just the combination of cards that are available in Star Realms lead to slightly different strategies you can use. I'm not really sure, but for some reason I tend to win this more than I do Hero Realms. But at the same time, I'm more of a fantasy fan than maybe a sci-fi fan when it comes to deck builders at least. And so I really like Star Realms, but if you want a very similar style of gameplay but set in a fantasy universe, I would recommend checking out Hero Realms as well. Overall though, I highly recommend playing this game. It's a lot of fun, the replay value is high, it's easy to learn, it's quick to play, and the game isn't very expensive at all. And if you want to get more into the game after playing this base game and getting the starter set here, there's a bunch of different expansions that you can get, but again, that's not necessary to play the game, where you're not going to be going and buying a bunch of different booster packs just to create that ultimate deck. They're all self-contained, so you can buy expansions little by little, add new additional mechanics to the game if you want, or you can just stick with this base game and get a ton of fun out of it. But if you guys think this game looks fun, let me know in the comments below. If there's other great deck building games I should check out and review on the channel, let me know in the comments below as well. If you want to pick up a copy of Star Realms and some of the expansions, there'll be links in the description below where you can do so. And if you guys like this video, be sure to smash that like button as it really helps out the channel. And if you haven't done so yet, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notifications to get the latest updates of new nerd videos we put out. And if you'd like to help us support the channel, pick out content and more, become a patron of ours at nerdproblemsgaming.com/Patreon. And if you'd like to plug into our live streams and Let's Plays we do on the channel, you can follow us on Twitch, over at nerdproblemsgaming.com/Twitch. But once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you more soon.